Hi friends, welcome back to the study section again, and here we are to continue from yesterday's topic, that is about resources and development. Yesterday we saw how important is resources for the development of our country and for the sustenance of the life on this earth. And we saw different types of resources and different names are called and so on. And today let us see about how to develop these resources. We said we have a lot of resources are there. Some we have already identified, some we have kept for future, some we have kept as a stock because we don't have enough technology, we take it out. And so we have a lot of resources are there and we need to develop. Let us see how to do that development of the resources. Unless it is developed, unless it is made use, it becomes just stagnant there. It does not help us to progress in our life. So in order to develop this, there are certain procedures out there. We have to follow certain directions, otherwise it can do harm to us as well. So we know these resources are very vital for the survival of human life on this earth. If the resources, sufficient resources are not there, we know the life on this earth can be very, very dry and it can be a struggle for survival. I'm sure you all must have seen some of the photos in some of the underdeveloped countries. The skeleton, people have turned into be literally we can say skeleton. No, just skin and bones, because they don't have enough resources. That is the reason. So if that can happen to anyone, if we are not taking care of the resources that is there in our nature, so we need to plan out, then we can have human survival possible, and also we can have a quality life. If we don't make use of resources properly, then the quality of our life becomes low. So in order to have a quality of life, we need to have that proper development of the resources and proper utilization. Then only it becomes possible for us. So some people think that resources are gift of the nature, free gift of the nature, and so they use it lavishly. So it is freely coming from the nature. I have not worked for it. I have not earned it by my merit. It is a free gift of the nature, and therefore they use it very lavishly. And as a result, what happened? It got exhausted very fast, and later they were without enough resources for their survival. So we need to do a proper planning, we need to do proper thinking, how to use these resources, how to spend these resources, then only it becomes more useful for us and more safe for us. So because of the improper planning or no planning at all, we can see a lot of harm has been done to the human beings in the world over. So let's see, one is the depletion of the resources. Thinking that it is a free gift of the nature, people have simply used it, whether it was required or not required, they simply use it, and so it has got depleted. Depleted means got over. It got over completely, and that resources have become very scarce now. So that is the problem. So when some people who have got resources in order to develop the resources, then they use it lavishly and they accumulate it. They become so greedy. They don't think about the people outside. They don't think about the people, other people. They only think about themselves. It is mine, it is given to me, it is in my nature, in my land, and so I want to use it. and so they become so greedy. And some other people, what do? They go on accumulating the resources, and as a result, the society is divided into the haves and the have-nots. That means the have means those who have, and the have-nots means those who don't have. That means the rich and the poor. So people who have got resource, they become rich. They use it only for themselves, they keep it only for themselves, and they go on becoming richer and richer. And on the other hand, people who do not have these resources, or people who do not have access to these resources, they become poor and poor, and they continue to struggle in this life. And so we need to think about others. We need to realize that this resource is not only just for myself, but it is meant for the entire humanity. It is meant for other people as well. Then if you misuse these resources again, or overuse these resources, it can also lead us into a lot of ecological problems in the world. There can be a lot of ecological problems, the problems in the ecology. Like we can say, it can lead to global warming. If you keep on overuse the resources, it can cause the global warming. For example, we know in this present age, there is a lot of fuel is used, a lot of fuel is burnt for using in the vehicles, or using in the engines in the factories, and so more and more engines are used day by day, and we use more and more fuel, we burn more and more fuel, and that leads to the increase of smoke. Smoke from the vehicles, smoke from the factories, smoke from the kitchen, and so on. It is increasing, and this smoke is pushed into the atmosphere, into the air, and as a result, the atmosphere becomes warmer and warmer, and it is increasing the heat in the atmosphere. It leads to global warming. Then we know the earth is protected from the ultraviolet rays of the sun, harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun, by an ozone layer. So if you keep on heating up our atmosphere, or the global warming is increasing, if the global warming is going up, then what happens? It can cause that ozone layer to deplete. There will be holes in the ozone layer, and that will allow the ultraviolet, harmful ultraviolet rays to reach the earth, and it can cause several kinds of serious diseases to the human beings, including like that of cancer. Recently we heard in the news that in the Arctic region, in the polar regions, there was hole in the ozone layer, and fortunately after a few days by itself it was closed, and human beings, we are saved from that harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun. So if this global warming is increasing or going on at this rate, then there will be several places, holes in the ozone layer, and it will allow the harmful ultraviolet sun rays to pass through that hole and reach the earth, and we human beings will have a very tough time in protecting our health. We will all fall into several types of sicknesses, and it will make us suffer. Then if you overuse again the resources, it can lead to another problem, that is environmental pollution. So as I said just now, the amount of smoke sent out into the atmosphere is increased day by day, and so the atmosphere is polluted, the air becomes impure, and people start developing breathing problems. They are not able to breathe that clean air. What they breathe is the polluted air, the smoke from the factories. It is pushing into the air a lot of poisonous gas. We are breathing all that, and our air and our environment is getting polluted. And another harmful thing that we can have to do is by overusing resources, causing our soil also to be degraded. We know from the factories lot of waste is extracted and pushed out, and that is leading to environmental degradation, and the soil is degraded, the quality of the soil is lost, and because of these chemicals that are mixed into the soil, a lot of degradation is taking place. If you go and plant something there, then nothing will grow there, nothing will take place there, nothing will happen there. So all those things are there. It is all calling us to do this proper planning when we take out or when we develop the resources. Yes, just imagine that in our country the oil supply is exhausted. We are no more getting oil products, no diesel, no petrol, no kerosene. What will be the situation in our country? We will not be able to move the vehicles. We will not be able to run trains and aeroplanes. We will not be able to run factories, and our life will come to a standstill. So the oil has got so much of importance in our life. We need it at every moment of our life, and therefore we cannot just think about the resource coming to an end or getting exhausted completely. Then our life will go back to thousands of years back, and we will have to live a very primitive life again. So in order to avoid such a dangerous situation, what we need is we need proper planning, how to develop the resources and how to use these resources and so on. We cannot just think about using it in our own way, thinking only about our own benefits. We need to think about everybody's need. We need to consider that others are also there, because it is a gift of the nature, not just for myself, it is meant for everyone. It is meant for the entire people in the world. So we need to think that way, we need to plan that way, then only we can really show our intellect in going ahead, planning ahead to live our life in the future as well. So we need an equal distribution of resources is essential for the sustained quality of life. So if you want everyone in the country to have a quality life, to live a quality life, what we need is we need to have an equal distribution of these resources. We need to develop equally. Equally, if we don't develop, then it is not possible. We need to make other people also have access to it. We may be living in this country, or we may be living in our state, we may have enough and more resources, but we need to think about people living in other part of the world, people living in other part of the country. We need to think about their development as well. Then only we can have a sustained and quality life. We can live a quality life. Otherwise, we will be having in excess things and others will be struggling. And we know all the resources are not present in every way. There may be some places enough and more resources, and some people there may be very few resources or very less resources. So we should not just think about living our present life, we also need to think about living our future life. Then only we can really prove that we are managing the resources properly. So we need to think about the future as well, not just thinking about the present life, but we need to plan about living, how to live, how to manage our future generations as well. Therefore, one thing that we come to know or come to realize is we need to have planning. We need to have planning. Then only we can really manage our life, manage a quality life. So in order to have that all forms of life existing in this world, we also need planning again. So if there is no planning, then species one after another will get extinct from this earth. So if we want every form of life be available on this earth, exist on this earth, then we need to do proper planning. That will help us to live a meaningful life, a sustainable life in this world, and move on to live in future as well. So in order to think about the future, not only just thinking about the present, but we also need to think about the future. There is a term called sustainable development. Sustainable development. Sustainable development. That means we need to develop sustaining, not just there is plenty so let me use plenty, or where is very little so let me use very little, not that way. We need to, even if there is plenty, we should not use it in excess, because we need to think about future, because these resources, as we saw yesterday, it is not just coming up within one day or 1 week or with a human effort alone, but it is thousands and millions of years processing only these resources have formed under the earth. And so we need to use it properly, sustainably. That means we need to think about future as well, not only just for the present time, but we also need to think about the future. Then only we can really say we are doing the planning. So people who have no planning, what they will do? When they have plenty of money, they will lavishly spend it and survive. And afterwards their money will get over, they do not know what to do. They get depression, they don't have anything more to survive, and so they will be starving. So that should not happen to us. That's why we are talking about the importance of planning of our life, about resources, how to do the sustainable way. We are not only just thinking about ourselves, we also need to think about the generations that will come in the future. How we must make them also enabled to use these natural resources that are available there. Not just thinking only about ourselves, but we need to think about the resources that are required for the future generations to survive as well. That's why it is so important to plan out properly and think about how to make the sustainable development possible. So I can say, in short, sustainable development means it should take place without damaging the environment, while extracting the resources, while mining out the resources. We should not spoil the environment, the soil, the air, the water. All these things should remain pure, should remain good. We should not spoil the nature. So all that will come under planning. How we must extract. We have identified there are minerals under the earth. So how we will mine it out? How without spoiling the environment we will take it out? And so we have to plan out properly, and then only without damaging the environment we can take care of it. And we should not compromise the present development with the needs of the future. So we must always remember that we should think about the generations that are going to come in the future as well. So how we must help those generations as well. Not only we have needs, but the generations that are going to come, they also have got needs. How are we going to help them? How are we going to enable them to make use these resources that are there? So we think about them, and we think about the future generations as well, those who are going to be there in the world, in the universe. So as the planning becomes so important, in order to have this sustainable development. The people all over the world, they came to realize that it is so important to have proper planning and proper use of resources, proper development of resources without damaging the environment, without compromising the needs of the future and also the needs of the present. People, world leaders came from more than 100 countries. The world leaders came and they met in a place called Rio de Janeiro. That is a place in Brazil. Rio de Janeiro. That is a place in Brazil. And they came and gathered there. It was in 1992. And they discussed about development of resources, and they did proper planning. How can we spend these resources in the proper way? How can we make it available to everyone and so on? So they came, discussed together, planned together, and they all decided at the end that we should make an agreement to have sustainable development. So all those world leaders, more than 100 of them, they all realized that there is a need for sustainable development. We should not just destroy just for one day or for 2 days, but it should go on for many days and for years to come, and for the next generations also it should be available. And so they all felt that there should be sustainable development. So use only what is required for today. Should not extract excess, then the future generation will suffer. And also in the world, there are some areas where there are no resources at all. They are suffering, they are poor, they are starving. And while some other places there is plenty of resources, and there the people are rich and they have everything that they need. And so the world leaders decided that we must have concern for each other. We must be willing to share and cooperate with one another, with the different countries, each other, so that the resources will be made equally available throughout the world, and there will be no one suffering, no one starving. That was the decision that the world leaders made in 1992, the place Rio in Brazil. So that is the need of the hour. That is a need that is required today in order to continue to help the world, continue to help the population to go on, do the proper planning and make this sustainable development. Then we can really say our world will progress. The gap between the rich and the poor, it will be reduced, and more development, proper sustainable development will take place in the world, and that will help us to improve the quality of life, the quality, the dignity of human life will increase, and also the environment, the water, the air, the soil, all that will also increase the quality, and it will help our human beings. It will help all the forms of life to continue to sustain in this earth and live their life in a better way. So that is the importance about the planning, about the sustainable development, and think about the needs. What is the need today? Use only so much. We don't need to acquire. If I don't use it today, others may take away tomorrow. We should not have that kind of greediness. We should use only in a sustainable way. We must use only what is required for today and preserve it for tomorrow, for the people to come in the future as well. Then we can really improve. We can really say that we are entering into this sustainable development planning, and we will help the future generations as well. I hope you are following it. So if you have followed it, then let us proceed to another topic. Another topic is resource planning. Resource planning. So our country, it is a developing country. It is not underdeveloped and it is not yet developed. It is a developing country. It is in the process of developing. And our country is also very rich in minerals, natural resources. But it is not evenly distributed. It is not equally distributed. There are some regions which are very rich in minerals, and there are some other regions not rich at all in minerals. So we need to have that proper planning within our country. Now we are talking about our country in India, resource planning in India. So that is our planning, resource planning in India. How are we going to plan out in India? How are we going to make use the resources in India? Are we going to allow some people to acquire more so that they can become richer and richer? Or are we going to make other people to suffer because they don't have enough? Is it going to be that way? So let us see what is the situation in India. What can we do? How can we plan out about the resources in India so that there can be a sustainable development, there can be a progress in our country, and people in India can have a quality life, a dignified life, but in a way not so poor so as to starve, and not so rich so as to acquire more and more, and to increase the gap between the rich and the poor. We need to plan out properly so that there will be proper planning, there will be proper enrichment, there will be proper quality life lived in India. We know in India some regions, we can say, like some states, there is a lot of resources that I already said, but some other states, they are starving. There is a lot of shortage for the essential resources. For example, we can say in Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, these states, this region is very rich in minerals. They have got a lot of gold deposits are there, iron ore minerals are there. So those states can be rich by extracting these minerals and use it for making so many things. And so these states or people in these states, they can become very rich. But at the same time, there are so many other states, they also have got certain resources, but they don't have all the resources, all the natural resources that they need. For example, let us see our own state, Arunachal. It is very rich in water resources. We have plenty of water sources, we have good rivers, good source, we have good amount of rainfall every year, and so we are very good in water resources. We can make use of it for making hydroelectric power and for agriculture and so on. But at the same time, we are lacking in infrastructure development. We don't have proper roads, we don't have proper buildings, we don't have proper factories. So those infrastructure development, we are lagging behind, but we are very rich in water resources. Then other states like Rajasthan, it is very rich in natural resources like wind energy, solar energy and so on. But it is very much lacking in water resources. So they have wind and solar energy, but what is another essential resource like water, they don't have. It is a very dry region, and so the farmers are suffering. Then another area, the cold desert, Ladakh. that is very rich in cultural heritage. It's very famous for cultural heritage center, and but they don't have enough water resources, they don't have infrastructure, they don't have minerals and so on. So we see some states they have got enough and more resources, certain resources, but they lack other resources. And so what we need is we need to do proper planning. We need to be willing to share our resources. What we have, we need to share with others, and what they have, they can share with others. So there should be, if the planning commission is there, planning committee is there, they need to work together, they need to find out what is our total possession or total quantity of the minerals that we have, and what are the resources we can share with others, which are the areas lacking in resources, which are the areas that are poor, and so on. So we need to do proper planning, and we need to first analyze, find out the quantity, that what is the amount of the resources that we have, what is the quality of that resource that we have, is it a good quality one, is it a medium quality, or is it a poor quality, and so we need to identify it, and then we need to share with another. We cannot just keep it only for ourselves. So it is in order to share with others that all these resources come under the national resource, under the national government. So no individual, even if it is in my compound, I cannot say it belongs to me. I will not give to anyone. I will keep it only for myself. I cannot say that. I need to. It belongs to the government, and government will decide. It has to be taken to a certain region where it is backward, the people are backward, so that they also can develop, they also can progress in their life, they also can become rich. So when we share with one another from place to place or from region to region, and accept also what we don't have from others, that way our country, the people, the sustainable development will be there, and there will be more and more unity among the people, there will be more and more development in our country, and the gap between the rich and the poor, that will be reduced. That is the advantage of having proper resource planning. So the government is doing it. They are always identifying the area where there is a resource, they are identifying the quality and the quantity of it, and they are trying to find out more and more places where there are resources, and they are also mining it out, extracting it without damaging the environment, the soil, the air, and the water, and so on. So while developing one resource, we should not destroy another resource. Everything is important, everything is essential for human life, and so the government is very careful in taking care of it and protecting it and trying to use it the best way possible for the development of the country, for the betterment of the people, and bring a sustainable development, so that people living in this world or at the present time do not think only about themselves, but they also think about the future and about the coming generations. That is how we have to do the planning, resource planning, and we are sure our government is doing it in that way, the planning commission is doing it in that way, and so we can be sure that it will be well used in the best way that is possible. For today we shall wind up here. I hope you have understood, and if you have any doubt, you can send me messages, ask for any clarification, and I will be always glad to help you. So for today, bye, and we'll meet you in the next day.